Released to the masses on February 19th, 1993, with an epic sword and castle adventure putting Ash into the Middle Ages, the chosen one of course, and to put an end to the Deadites once and for all. What we got was a wild ride through time full of iconic one-liners.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
90s wit, classic practical effects, and more campy charm than you could shake a boomstick at. Since another anniversary is upon us, I'd like to celebrate the best incarnation of Ash to ever grace the silver screen. This, my friends, is Army of Darkness.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
With Evil Dead 2 debuting in 1987, and then Darkman, Sam Raimi's first big studio picture, being a modest hit, Army of Darkness was Sam returning with an $11 million budget to finish off the series that put him on the map. This was to be a medieval adventure with our lovable Midwest loser. So how did we get here?
Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
There's always been this indie charm to the loose continuity of the Evil Dead series. Like, a few years of wisdom after always seems to alter where things ended up. The Evil Dead ends with the supposed death of Ashley Ash Williams. Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn plays both sides as a quasi-remake and sequel, summing up the first film in the opening 7 minutes, condensing the cabin adventure to now only Ash and Linda, with the rest being the continuation. Spoilers, Ash lives. Ending with our hero being thrust into the Middle Ages, instantly becoming a savior from the Deadites. And so Army of Darkness takes that time travel end note of the sequel and makes an entire story arc out of it. How does Ash become the hero and free these people from the terrors of the Deadites? Well, through stupidity and sheer will.
Hold it. Nobody said anything about 3 books.
And that's the thing, I find this to be the most engaging and entertaining entry that finds Bruce Campbell at peak Ash. A coward, a blowhard, and a hero. But more on that in a bit. And the funny thing is that Army of Darkness is an R-rated film. And it got an R rating only because the MPAA probably holds a list of offenders and they do not like to be slighted. Since Raimi and company went around the ratings board and made them for the fools that they are, parts 1 and 2 were very successful. Of course, those miserable would give this an R rating. In fact, the first rating they gave was an NC-17. Because let's be honest, revenge is a sweet dish, and the MPAA wasn't here to play ball. Or as Bruce Campbell says it better.
That's all a crock of shit. Anyway, this movie should be rated PG.
And listen, in my heart, I would have loved some more blood, some gore. I really would have. But being that this was supposed to be the more sort of slapstick entry, I could live with it. It's here that Sam Raimi trades his majority share of horror for the humor that has always been at the heart of his style. There is a solid argument to make that Evil Dead 2 is the perfect balance of tones, and as a pragmatic man, I agree. Now the horror is there, but Army of Darkness is far more influenced by the Three Stooges and Jason and the Argonauts, ramped up by Raimi's perfected, embellished style. And that's why Army of Darkness stands so tall. It's a culmination of a young director using every trick he's learned to end his story in the most hilariously ferocious way possible. This is Raimi at his most fun and his most unhinged. There's this weird animation vibe of Ash holding the windmill door shut. It's so bizarre and unlike anything I've seen. The odd speed time when he is confronted by the witch. This stretched out frame of evil Ash. The entire 3 books sequence. The elegant projection shot of the flipped Oldsmobile, and the perfect callback of the chainsaw build from part 2.
Groovy.
Under a less director, the weight of all of it would surely have collapsed, or worse, been neutered into something bland and straightforward. Sometimes it's the little things, like a blink and you'll miss it ball shot to Ash. But why, after so many years, does Army of Darkness have the fandom it does? Well, it's Bruce Campbell's final, at the time, iteration of Ash. The evolution is both odd yet brilliant. Ashley Williams was sweet-natured, a tad boring, and only reached any potential by feet of fire madness. Part 2, of course, quickened the process with Ash, though moronic, had a bit more of a backbone, finally finding his potential with the chainsaw hand and good old glory, the sawed-off. Here's the thing, and why this Ash is the f***ing chef's kiss of the character. It's because Ash is at his most cynical, not hopeless.
I got it!
Is that would honestly take a certain amount of emotional intelligence that he just does not have. No, see, Ash here is fed up, he's grumpy, and so his level for bullshit is nearing zero. Building up to where we are now, with the events from the other films, it makes sense story-wise, giving us one lovable loudmouth braggart. But the question at hand is, are there more?
Nope. Just me, baby. Just me.
Whether it be shaking his boomstick while giving his retail sales speech, to being fed grapes by the sexy wenches, Ash is absolutely done with everything. And so we get one of the best one-liner quippy anti-heroes of the 1990s. I mean, honestly, I could do a whole video on just this, but for now, this will have to do.
How about some hot chocolate, huh?
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
When Sheila comes in to apologize, and Ash tells her to close the door, I mean, how was she raised in a barn? Only for a low in the mix audio response that you may have even missed answers just that.
He was raised in a barn with all the other primitives.
And this was the last time, at least in film, that Ash was ever this sardonic. I mean, look at Ash from Ash vs. Evil Dead. He's happy. A man that in all of his stupidness has found peace, spending his time trying to get laid before the last call.
You saved him.
In a lot of ways, he saved me.
Bringing back the Deadites because he's horny and didn't think that, reading from the book would be a bad idea. Fuck. The Ash from Army of Darkness is at that perfect crossroad of stupid youth, toughness, and ability. Of course, since it's less horror-focused in tone, we get the elaborate and goofy Deadite army, and all the practical effects that go along with bringing it to life. Courtesy of the always excellent KMB, a great crew led by the now legends of Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger. We get everything in the kitchen sink bringing this to life. Puppets, miniature, stop motion, rear projection, it's everything, baby. And how can you not have the time of your life here? It's that kind of film that being a part of would be a core experience in the story of life.
We were shooting 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We were so exhausted, did some really great stuff. But God, I think my back is still hurting, and that was in 1990.
There are multiple edits and two distinct endings. One where Ash loses and one where he wins. And though I respect the original and agree it's more in line with the two that came before, honestly for me personally, I'm glad to see Ash get a win. Plus, it's always been great thinking he's telling this story with no social radar and how fucking nuts he must seem.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah.
I'm giving Army of Darkness a perfect 10. Now before you cry, Evil Dead 2 gets the same rating.
Groovy.
This is the perfect end to a wild and wacky trilogy. One that feels like friends making something they love. One where you can feel and see the passion on screen. For those on the same wavelength, I hope you guys get where I stand. Movies shape us. Their stories are ones that inspire, comfort, and challenge. From seeing Army of Darkness at the Die-In Theater on Halstead in 1993, to growing up with the trilogy through VHS all the way to 4K, I'm glad that in the entire 4.5 billion years, the existence of Earth, I was around in the time where a third movie about a chainsaw-handed dunce couldn't get an $11 million budget and a major studio release, and hand in a time-traveling, horror-inspired Three Stooges closer, where its charm came from its flaws, and all the heart that went into this. Life can be pretty tough at times. I ain't denying it. But to think that this movie, Army of Darkness, could exist at that level makes me think sometimes, you know what? It ain't too bad.
Hail to the king, baby.